If I could teach you just one thing about the law of assumption, it would be this. Not affirmations, not scripting, not endless journaling, but a moment so small, so ordinary, most people overlook it entirely. The final few minutes before you fall asleep. And the strange thing is, you've already done it, many times, but the wrong way. You've fallen asleep rehearsing your fears, replaying that conversation, worrying about that bill, and without knowing it, you've been planting the very seeds you hoped would never grow, every single night. And now I have to ask you, are you falling asleep creating heaven or repeating hell? What I'm about to show you can change everything, because the truth is, you don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you're conscious of as you fall asleep. Be honest with yourself. How many nights have you laid there, your mind spinning like a broken carousel, waiting for a message that never came, worrying about the money that never feels enough, wishing your life looked like someone else's highlight reel? Maybe you've done it so many times you've stopped noticing you're doing it at all. You just call it overthinking. But what you're really doing is programming the subconscious engine of your life to repeat the same patterns again tomorrow. You see, this universe runs on rhythm, day and night, waking and dreaming, conscious and unconscious. There are 24 hours in a day, but there's only one sacred window where you're no longer fighting, no longer striving, and yet still awake enough to choose. That moment right before you fall asleep. Neville Goddard didn't teach rituals. He didn't teach complicated routines. He taught awareness, the ability to enter sleep carrying only the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Because in that drifting state, the doorway between the seen and the unseen, your conscious mind lets go, and the subconscious takes the throne. And the subconscious doesn't argue. It doesn't filter. It simply accepts. And what you bring into that moment, fear or faith, lack or love, becomes your blueprint for tomorrow. Most people fall asleep as victims. They carry into sleep the identity of the one still waiting, the one still lacking, the one still wondering when it's going to happen. But here's the truth no one told you. Miracles are born at night. Not in the noise of effort, but in the silence of surrender. So if you've ever wondered why things haven't changed, why all your affirmations seem to vanish by morning, go back. Not to what you said, but to who you were being in the final seconds before sleep. And the most powerful question of all, are you ready to change everything just by changing how you fall asleep tonight? There is a moment, just before sleep, where everything becomes still. The noise of the day fades, your body begins to sink, your breath slows, and somewhere in between the conscious and the unconscious, a door opens. A sacred, invisible door. Most people walk past it every night. But for those who understand, who pause and enter with intention, that moment becomes the most powerful gateway of creation they will ever know. Neville Goddard called it the Sabbath, not as a day of the week, not Saturday, not Sunday, but a state of rest, a sacred pause, a divine stillness in which striving ends and creation begins. Because in this stillness you are no longer the one begging. You are no longer the one seeking. You become the one who has already received. This is the mystery most people never learn. It is not the action you take at noon that shifts your reality. It is the identity you wear in the seconds before sleep. Think about this. If your subconscious, the force that breathes your lungs, that beats your heart, that organizes the details of your life, if that force becomes most receptive when your body is still and your mind is quiet, then why would you ever go to sleep as anything less than the person you wish to become? Why would you bring in regret, fear, disappointment when you could fall asleep in love, in abundance, in peace? You see, the few who understand this secret, they don't need to constantly script or chant or chase. They simply enter the Sabbath. And in doing so, they release the seed into fertile soil. They assume the end. And then they rest. They don't check. They don't question. They don't interfere. Because they know, once the seed is planted, the roots begin growing in silence. And here's what makes it all so divine: you don't need proof. You don't need a sign. You only need to feel it. Not as a hope, not as a wish, but as a reality already lived within. Neville said, "You do not need to make it so. It is so." And when you understand that, When you become that, you realize there is nothing left to do, nothing to fix, nothing to force. Just sleep in the feeling of it already done. That is the Sabbath. That is the sacred act. And that is when reality begins to move. It begins with stillness, not striving, not reaching, not effort, but surrender. The most powerful act of creation is not doing more, it's doing less. At the right moment. As you lay down at night, forget the world. Let the weight of the day dissolve. Let your body melt into the bed like warm wax. Let each muscle go. Let each breath deepen. You are not trying to sleep. You are not trying to manifest. You are simply arriving at the edge of the conscious world, and the threshold of the unseen. This is where it starts. Neville called it the state akin to sleep, that in-between place where your body is asleep but your awareness remains. You're not lost in dreams, but you're no longer bound by logic. This is the opening. The door has cracked, and now you must step in. Not with words, not with wishes, but with a feeling. Feel it as done. Don't beg, don't bargain, don't ask. Assume. What would it feel like if it were already true? What would your breath sound like? How would your shoulders rest? What expression would linger on your face? This is not visualization from a distance. You are not watching yourself in a movie. You are in it first person, fully alive, fully present in the scene that implies. It's already yours. Maybe someone you love is congratulating you. Maybe you're holding the keys to the new home. Maybe you're reading the acceptance letter, or looking at the account balance, or simply feeling a peace so deep it silences the world. Whatever it is, make it simple, make it short, but feel it fully. Let the scene play. Loop it if you must. And don't force it. Let it breathe. Let it become real. Not real someday. Real now. Because your subconscious doesn't know the difference between memory and imagination. It only accepts what you feel as real. And once it accepts, it obeys. The world will shift to reflect your assumption. It must. That is law. But here's the part most people never reach after you've imagined, after you've assumed, after you've touched the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Let go. Don't cling. Don't chase. Don't look back to see if it's working. That's not faith. That's fear in disguise. Let go, not in hopelessness, but in knowing. You are not giving up. You are resting in the end. The seed is planted. And now your only task is to sleep like someone who already has it. That's the difference. That's the mystery. And that is where the magic begins. When the night ends, the work does not. Because the Sabbath, that sacred rest, was never just about falling asleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It was about rising from it. The version of you who touched the end last night must now walk the earth by day. You wake up not to find proof, not to ask when, not to look for signs. You wake up as someone who knows, someone who has already received. You don't need to force yourself to believe. You simply refuse to return to the version of yourself who doubts. Because that version no longer exists. This is not performance. This is not pretending. It's identity. You are now the one who has. You are now the one who walks with calm certainty. You carry yourself differently. You speak with quiet assurance. You make decisions not from fear, but from fullness. When the old thoughts rise, and they will, you don't wrestle with them. You don't panic. You simply return to the state you fell asleep in. That place of knowing. That home within. You remind yourself, I've already assumed it. I've already planted the seed. Now I simply water it. By being it. You don't need to explain yourself to others. You don't need to justify the peace you feel. You just live from the end. From the knowing. From the fulfillment. Because every time you think from that place, act from that place, speak from that place, you are choosing the timeline where it already exists. And the outer world, like a mirror, has no choice but to reflect it. This is not about chasing results. This is about holding the state. This is about staying in character, not as the person waiting, but as the person who has already received. And in this space, the world shifts quietly. Without force. Without effort. People move. Doors open. Paths clear. And it's not magic, though it will feel like magic. It's law. It's cause and effect. is consciousness shaping reality. So now you begin your day not with questions, but with gratitude. Not with seeking, but with stillness. Because you already know, it is done. And you are already the one who has it. You don't need to go back. You don't need to start over. Because now, you know. And once you know, you can never unknow. This isn't about a technique anymore. It's not about what you do at night or how vividly you imagine. It's about who you have become. You are no longer the seeker. You are no longer the one who waits, who doubts, who wonders. You are the one who has, and that changes everything. Because now you carry the Sabbath within you. You don't visit it for a few minutes before sleep. You live in it. You breathe from it. You make decisions from the stillness of someone who already knows the end is certain. The world may look unchanged for a moment, but don't let your eyes fool you. Creation begins in silence. Reality shifts in invisible waves long before the surface moves. Your job is not to control the waves. Your job is to stay in alignment with the outcome you've already assumed. Let the world rearrange. Let people show up. Let the unseen forces conspire. You just remain. Remain in faith. Remain in character. Remain in the peace that says, it is finished. And here's what you'll notice: the more often you fall asleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the more natural it becomes. The more it feels like home. And when something feels like home, it doesn't feel like pretending anymore. It doesn't feel like hoping. It feels like remembering. As if you're not creating something new but returning to something that was always yours. This is the real power. Not shouting at the universe. Not proving yourself to anyone. But living quietly, faithfully, confidently, as someone who has already received. So tonight, when you lay down, enter the Sabbath again. Not as someone learning, but as someone who knows. Close your eyes. Feel it done. Feel it yours. And tomorrow, live like it's already written. Because it is. And now so are you. And now, you know that the universe is not moved by your striving. It is moved by your state. You know that what you feel before sleep, that final whisper between worlds, becomes the script of your tomorrow. You know that the power was never out there. It was always in you. And tonight, you return to it. Not as a student. Not as someone learning the rules. But as the creator. The one who enters the Sabbath and rests. So I leave you with one question, not for your mind, but for your soul. Who will you fall asleep as tonight? The one who is still waiting, or the one who already is? If this spoke to something inside you, if a quiet yes began to rise in your chest as you listened, let the world know. Type it in the comments below. I enter the Sabbath. Let it be your declaration. Let it be your return. Let it be the moment everything begins to shift. And if you're ready to go deeper into the art of assumption, into the silent laws that shape your world, you know what to do. I'll see you not in the future but in the state where it's already done.